OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is going on, guys? It's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC podcast, and welcome to a Monday Night Raw review. I just want to start off by saying, yes, I'm in a different location. I've moved houses since the last time I was on the channel, which was obviously last Friday for the podcast. So I apologize if there is a little bit of an echo. I apologize for the mess in the background. This is the new wrestling room. It is nowhere near done. I literally have not even started touching anything in here. I can't find my microphone. I can't find my tripod. Luckily, I found my ring light. I can't even find my books to write my notes. So I have my notes on my laptop here about what happened on Monday Night Raw this week. Without further ado, let's get into it. I just want to say quickly, if I'm looking down, it is just because my laptop has my notes. I feel so unorganized, but this episode of Monday Night Raw was one that I actually feel really honored to talk about. We will get into it, but yeah, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So as we all know, the WYATT has been heavily teased over the last couple of months, and so the intro to Monday Night Raw this week started off very staticky, but it was even more staticky than normal, like we already knew they were coming. Then we had a Clash at the Castle recap, so we got to see a little bit from each of the matches and obviously got to see a little bit about what happened to Drew McIntyre. We end up seeing that Drew McIntyre is walking backstage. He will be in the show at some point in the evening. I did not think I was going to be saying this soon, but Monday Night Raw this week started off with Seth freaking Rollins returning. I'm emotional mentioning his name because I have missed that man so much. I literally bawled my eyes out when I was watching this in person. I'm not going to post the picture. Normally I would to embarrass myself, but I'm not going to post the picture. The only people that are going to see that picture is the group chat. Oh, I honestly thought I was going to have to wait until at least the Royal Rumble for this man to return, but he came out and everybody was so happy to see him. I was crying, I was singing. I'm so happy my king has returned. Honestly, the best thing about today was coming home and seeing him. I love that man so much, for all of those who do not know. Anyway, so he comes out and he welcomes everybody to Monday Night Rollins and he says, let me reintroduce myself. I am a visionary. I'm a revolutionary. I am Seth freaking Rollins. Obviously, the crowd is really hyped and really excited because we had no idea he was going to come back. He talks about how he missed us and how he wants to cut straight to the chase. He's come back for one reason and one reason only. He feels like he's done it all within WWE, but he wants to, go ahead and do more. He got into this business to be the very greatest of all time. His words especially, the very greatest, best of all time. He must have just been really excited to come back and obviously wanted to use more adjectives. And he said he can't do that without getting back his championship that he made. And he makes it known that he's going after the World Heavyweight Championship. And he's like, I've got to figure out a way to do that. And he looks up and the camera pans up and the Money in the Bank briefcases are there because we're starting to get qualifying matches. So he looks up and he goes, well, Money in the Bank is a few short weeks away. I do know how to climb a ladder. I am very familiar with the Money in the Bank contract, and that's the fastest way for me to get back into the mix for my shot at my title. Damien comes out. Now he is sporting a limp. This is obviously because of what happened at Clash at the Castle over the weekend. He got his leg stuck in between the ring ropes, which that's actually kind of not fun. I can't say I've had it happen myself, but it looks very painful. You can actually snap your ankle doing that. He said, look, I'm not being sarcastic, but I wanted to be the first person to come out here and say, welcome back. You look great. You look healthy. It's good to have you back. But I wanted to come to you and just say face to face that I cashed in on you out of respect, When it comes to the Monday Night Raw, we're doing okay, but, this is not Monday Night Rollins anymore. This is all Rise for El Campeon. And Seth is like, look, you've had a rough week. I respect it. You and I are a lot alike. We've both come to have a name for being in a big group, i.e. Damien's a part of Judgment Day. Seth Rollins was a part of the greatest group of all time, The Shield. His words, not mine, but also I feel the same way. And he said, we've both gone ahead and won Money in the Bank, and we've both cashed in at WrestleMania. But the difference between me and you is I grew a set. And I was like, whoa. Oh no. He said, I've gone and created a legacy for myself. What kind of legacy do you think that you're going to lead? I'm wanting to be the greatest of all time. And I decided that I had to stand on my own 2 feet. What kind of champion do you want to be? Do you want to have some form of legacy? Or do you want to just be a footnote for the Judgment Day? And Damien's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me remind you, I was your first challenger when it came to that World Heavyweight Championship. You beat me because you were better than me, but times have changed. He almost lost his leg at Clash at the Castle over the weekend, and he says that if you think that you're better than me, how about we have Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest at Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship? And I was like, yes, please. Seth Rollins is like, look, I know how this goes. Your boys are going to come out. This is a trap. You know, at the end of the day, like, is this a trap or not? And Damien's like, this is literally not a trap. Nobody knows that I'm here. Like, do you want this match? Yes or no? And Seth is like, I accept. And he's like, I'm going to go ahead and make it official. And Seth Rollins is like, this show will forever and always be Monday Night Rollins. So I'm so excited that we have him back sooner than we expected. Honestly, I was half ready to wait until Royal Rumble season for my boy to come back, but I'm stoked that he's back. If he's going to be at Money in the Bank, that makes it even more better. Adam Pearce is backstage, and Alpha Academy, specifically Chad Gable with the Alpha Academy, come through, and Chad is asking for another rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, Michael Cole references this on commentary later on in the evening that this is actually Chad Gable's 5th time losing an IC title match. He said you need to go to the back of the line and go ahead and prove yourself to get that opportunity once again. Chad's like, well, go ahead and give me a contender, go ahead and give me an opponent, like, let's make this happen. And Adam's like, I already know somebody who I'll give you as an opponent. Then we see Alba and Isla have arrived to the arena. They are the new women's tag team champions, obviously after what had happened at Clash at the Castle. Back to the ring, Chad Gable has made his entrance, and he is facing none other than Braun Strowman. I actually kind of thought Adam Pearce was going to pull a fast one on Chad Gable and put him up against Braun Breaker, but I was wrong. But anyway, Braun is just pretty much just overpowering Chad throughout this entire match. He hits him with a really nice big boot, and there's a moment where Chad ends up mouthing off the Alpha Academy. Then we hit the commercial break, but when we come back, Braun is in control and he throws Chad around the ring. He ends up tossing him again, and then there's a moment where Chad Gable and Braun, I think Braun goes for the Strowman Express, and then Chad ends up pushing Akira Tozawa in the way of Braun, so he tries to basically use Akira as a human shield. Then we end up seeing Braun at one point in the match hitting a bomber slam to come away with the win. Then he ends up leaving. He's like, nah, this isn't about me anymore. So after the match, Chad Gable is in the middle of the ring and he is fuming. He is furious. He instructs the Alpha Academy to come into the ring, and he's like berating them at one point. There's a moment where Chad tries to go for Akira, but then Maxine ends up stopping him. But then there's a moment where I think Otis is distracted by Maxine, and then Chad ends up going for Akira, so he ends up slapping him, and then Otis ends up throwing Chad, and I'm like, come on, Otis, like, you can do this, come on, like, be strong, be a strong boy, walk away from him. And they ended up leaving. Michael Cole gets Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee Illustrator. I don't even know the name of it. Anyway, Pat starts talking about the relationship between Liv and Dom. End up going back to the Judgment Day clubhouse, and Dom is really concerned. He's looking for something. He can't find his vest. And then we end up seeing Damien come in, and he starts hitting up Finn about the key card and why he took it. He's like, look, I'm trying to protect Dom at the end of the day. It's in the rubbish bin where it belongs. And then Damien's like, all right, cool. You've got your match, the triple threat, coming up in the evening for the Money in the Bank position. I kind of want to figure out what's going on. Where's your head at? And Finn goes ahead and he's like, oh, if I win Money in the Bank and I get the briefcase, I'm going to cash in. And Damien's like looking at him like, are you going to cash in on me? Finn's like, no, I'm going to cash in on Cody. We all know he's going to cash in on Damian Priest. But anyway, so Dom can't find his vest, and then he ends up just kind of walking away. So the first match that we have is Io Sky taking on Kiana James as well as Zelina Vega. I didn't write down many notes during this match, but this was really good. I really enjoyed this match because I feel like all three of these women have a really great moveset, and this match really got to capitalize and show a lot of their moveset as well too, which was really cool to see. We obviously had some moonsaults coming in from Io. We ended up having some really nice Meteoras and Hurricanrana moves coming in from Zelina Vega. Kiana had her strength on display, which I really enjoyed seeing. There was a moment in this match where Liv Morgan came out and started distracting Zelina Vega, and then we ended up seeing Io Sky capitalizing off of this and winning the match, so she has actually gone on to qualify for Money in the Bank for the second year in a row. We had a recap of what happened last week with Bron Breakker and Elliot and Ricochet as well too, and obviously the death of Ricochet from that segment. Sami Zayn comes out to the ring and he starts cutting a promo talking about how after Clash at the Castle he is still the IC champion, and he said on Saturday, Chad didn't make it easy for me. It's never easy in the ring with him. He said, I beat him in this match though, and it's been months and months and months of dealing with him. I'm over it. I've already beaten him. I want to move on from Chad, but it's not as easy for me to move on from the Alpha Academy. You know, I understand what they're going through. I feel for those guys. But when it comes to them stepping away from Chad Gable, they need to do it in their own time, and they need to do it when they're ready. And he goes, I want to defend the IC title against anyone and everyone. And we hear Bron Breakker's music hits, and he's a moment where he's standing in the ring, and Sammy's like, are you just going to stand there and waste my time, or are you actually going to go ahead and say something? And Bron was like, you know what I'm out here for, you know what I'm capable of, you're next on the list, I'm taking the IC title. And then Sheamus comes out and he refers to Sami Zayn as his ginger ninja friend, because obviously they're both ringers. Funny. Anyway, he goes on and says that he's been chasing the IC title for the last 5 years, and if you're talking about opportunities, why don't you consider me? I'd do anything for that title and I'm coming after it. And then Bron Breakker gets a little bit mad and he goes, well, no one cares about you. We all know what happens when people like you get in my way. I'll kick your ass too. And then Sheamus ends up calling Bron like the new kid around the block and says he's got no skin in the game and asks him to get to the back of the line. And Sammy's like, well, actually, how about we go ahead and do this? How about we make a match official between the two of you tonight? Because I'm sure Adam Pearce will want you to fight it out instead of you guys just standing here talking. After this, we had a Dragon Lee promo package, and we ended up seeing Alba and Isla's recap from Clash at the Castle, obviously where they secured the women's tag team championships. Jackie Redmond is catching up with them backstage and is asking, has the high from the championship actually faded? And they said no. They said that dreams do come true, and obviously we got to celebrate with our family, but the celebrations are over and the hard work starts now. Shayna and Zoe come in and they start talking about how they almost had that match won and that they are coming for the women's tag titles whenever they are ready for them. Back to the ring where Dragon Lee has made his entrance, and Carlito makes his way out to the ring with the Judgment Day as well too, because they have a match obviously after what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. So Dragon Lee unleashes on Carlito at the start of the match, and then Carlito ends up sending Dragon Lee into the barricade. We end up seeing a moment where Carlito is egging on Rey Mysterio, and then Dragon Lee sends Carlito flying, and we hit the commercial break. But when we come back, Carlito's turned the tide on the match, and we end up seeing a really nice sit-down powerbomb coming in from Dragon Lee. Liv Morgan comes out, and then we end up seeing Zelina Vega attacking Liv. This is very much setting up like an LWO Judgment Day style thing. Then we see Carlito taking advantage of this distraction and securing the win. To see the video footage, which was obviously shown on social media, of CM Punk asking for that ref shirt. He was watching the match at Clash at the Castle and obviously saw when Eddie, who's the ref, got bumped out of the ring, and he asked for the ref shirt to make his way out. After this, we end up seeing Drew McIntyre is making his way out to the ring, and we end up seeing a little bit more static coming in. Now, this is obviously the WYATT interference. We head to a locker room where we see the Alpha Academy is getting packed up and ready to leave. Chad comes in and is like, what are you doing? Like, where are you guys going? Otis is like, we're packing, we're leaving, we're done. And Chad's like, you're done when we say we're done, blah, blah, blah. So I think the Alpha Academy is very much in disarray at the moment, and I'm really hoping that they kind of just break away from Chad, and then Chad can bring in his own new faction of the Creeds and potentially Ivy Nile as well. Drew McIntyre comes out to the ring where he gets cheered by the crowd. He makes his way out. He grabs the mic, says CM Punk's name a few times. You can tell he's quite upset internally, and he goes ahead and he says, I can't do this anymore. Screw this company. I'm done. Drops the mic, walks off. Adam Pearce runs out and he's like, what's going on? Like, we need to talk about this. We come back from the commercial break and we pick up where we've left off during this part. So Drew McIntyre has just said that he quits and he's leaving the company. We're in gorilla position where we end up seeing Triple H is talking to Drew McIntyre, and Drew kind of walks off, and then Adam tries to run after him. So it's interesting to see this kind of whole I quit moment after what happened at Clash because of CM Punk ending up costing Drew McIntyre, but I'm loving this Drew McIntyre storyline, so it doesn't really bother me. Really quick women's tag match between the teams of Kaden Carter and Katana Chance taking on Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane. Now, this is obviously after what happened last week at the end of the match between Lara and Io. So it's very short and sweet, and unfortunately Kaden and Katana take away the win. So Damage Control goes after Kaden Carter, and they both end up coming back on the attack. Dakota Kai takes control in the match, and then Kairi hits an insane elbow, and then we end up seeing Katana breaking up the pin. There's a moment where Lyra distracts Dakota, and then Kari ends up falling victim to this for the after party move to hit, and that's how they win. Then Damage Control is seen backstage, obviously trying to recover after the match. Io goes ahead and says that Damage Control has to change, or I will change it myself. Does it mean that Julie is coming in? I have to ask Ross on Friday, but anyway. Back to the ring where we have the match between Bron and Sheamus, and now Sami Zayn is actually ringside for this match. So Sheamus takes Bron to the floor, and then both men end up spilling outside of the ring. Bron ends up overpowering Sheamus, and then Sheamus hits a really nice Irish curse backbreaker, and we see a rolling senton come through as well too. Bron ends up throwing Sheamus, and then Sheamus regains control within the match, and then Bron ends up taunting Sheamus. Sheamus hits his 10 beats, and then he goes for the brogue kick when we end up seeing Ludwig Kaiser interfere to cost this match. So nobody won the match. It's keeping them both protected, but it's continuing the feud between him and Sheamus. Obviously, I'm referring to Ludwig. And then there's a moment where Bron ends up getting taken away, but then Bron comes back and fighting. So very interesting. Something that I didn't really find interesting is you can see Dom Mysterio is walking backstage looking for his vest. He sees Liv Morgan's in the corridor. He asks for the vest, but then Liv's like, you have to undress me for it. So obviously she starts unzipping it, and then Dom unzips her, and then Damien catches, and then Dom ends up leaving because Damien's like, you need to go get your stuff, like pack up and leave. And then Damien pretty much just asks Liv to leave Dom alone. I can see why people like this. Me, not so much. Karrion Kross cuts a promo backstage with Scarlett, and he's issuing an open challenge from someone in the New Day to go up against him one-on-one next week. The New Day responds straight after, and Kofi says that he will be going up against Karrion next week. Hit the main event of Monday Night Raw, which is Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio, and Finn Balor. Now this is a triple threat qualifying match for Money in the Bank. This was a really great match. Lots of high spots, lots of really fast sequencing as well too. I feel like all three of these guys did a really great job. Finn kind of leaves the ring straight away, and then we end up seeing Rey and Jey jostling in the ring. It's funny to say Rey and Jey together, but anyway. Finn Balor comes back in to attack, and then Rey ends up going high, but we hit a commercial break. But when we come back, Finn is going after Jey, and then Finn ends up attacking Rey with some stomps and some kicks. Jey Uso ends up finding his rhythm, and then Rey's obviously hitting his crazy sequences as he does. Then we have another commercial break. See how hard it is to talk about these matches when there's commercial breaks all the time? Anyway, after the commercial break, Rey ends up sending Finn Balor flying, and then we see a really nice spear coming in from Jey. Rey hits a baseball slide, and he actually hits 3 619s back to back as well, which is quite cool. Dom tries to get involved, and so does JD and Carlito, but because this is a triple threat, we do not have disqualification. Then Braun ends up going after the Judgment Day. Finn hits the coup de grace, and then he ends up thinking that he's got the count, but then Jey ends up splashing over top of Finn and Rey and gets the win. So Jey Uso has now qualified for Money in the Bank. I thought this was an interesting decision. I really would have loved to see Finn Balor qualify for Money in the Bank to potentially win it, because then that's a moment that you could have teased with him and Damien. Obviously, how's he going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase kind of thing. I would have really liked to see that. But I'm happy that Jey Uso's qualified. I feel like he'll be really good in this match. Just when we thought Monday Night Raw was over and they had forgotten anything and everything about the WYATT 6, there was 5 minutes left of the show, and the arena starts to go dark. You start to see the fireflies in the arena, and then the beginning sound of Bray Wyatt's current theme, so Shatter, the piano sound started playing, and it pretty much just played out through this entire thing. As soon as the Bray Wyatt music hit, I felt like I was going to cry. I was like, oh no. Then we end up seeing a camera shot of the door. Now, this was the same door that was used in the Extreme Rules return for Bray Wyatt. The door opens and there's a lot of smoke all over the ground. We can't really see much until we start to see some black hair forming, and you can start to see this white coming out, and it's somebody crawling out from the door, and it's none other than the bride, which we're assuming is Nikki Cross in this entire thing. But you can tell she looks like Samara from The Ring. She's crawling out. The mask looks great. She looks incredibly terrifying. She came out, and then there's a lantern on the ground, which obviously is a nod to Bray Wyatt. And then she goes towards the lantern and she points like this. And then the camera goes and follows the way that she points. Then we end up going backstage. There's fog everywhere. It's just dark and dingy. And we end up seeing the live incarnation of Rambling Rabbit, which was quite cool. Rambling Rabbit turns around. There are people all over the floor. People have obviously been attacked before this. Then we go around and we end up seeing Mercy the Buzzard as well. We go to gorilla position where we see more people are on the ground, and we see someone in a gas mask as well too. Then we have a shot of Chad Gable on the ground, so they've gone after Chad Gable as well too. Then the camera pans up and we see Uncle Howdy. And one thing I noticed straight away with Uncle Howdy is he doesn't have that long white hair like he did before. He's got dreads. Now, if you do not know, the dreads are a reference to Bray Wyatt. Now, I loved this. I feel like this was a much elevated version of Uncle Howdy. So you see Uncle Howdy, he starts walking back towards the ring. So he's coming through gorilla position. A lot of all these different puppets, I don't know what you want to call them, but maybe associates. Their associates are walking behind him. They start making their way through. Obviously, there's blood and everything all through gorilla position. There's a TV where we get to see the logo of the WYATT get picked up on the TV a few times. They make their way back into the arena where obviously Nikki Cross, or the bride, I don't know if she's Sister Abigail maybe, she's on the ground still. They all go towards the lantern, and then Howdy picks up the lantern, he grabs it, he holds it up with all of them standing there, and he goes, "We're here," and blows out the lantern, and that is the end of Monday Night Raw. Now that was a picture perfect way to bring the WYATT into the fold. I was really concerned with the way that I didn't know how they were going to bring WYATT to life. Obviously, a lot of these QR codes and these teasers are really great for the fans. I had no clue how this was going to translate onto TV. I'm incredibly excited to see where we go from here. Obviously, I didn't think that they would get involved behind the scenes and obviously start beating down on security or have them laying there before we even get to see them debut. But they said they're going after the establishment. And if that's what it means, then I'm really excited to see where we go from here. I thought this was a really great way to introduce the group. And then at the end, before Monday Night Raw actually signed off, we had this weird like flash of the bride. So maybe that's like, I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I'm really excited to see this, and I feel like the way that we've been seeing the camera shots coming through on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, a lot of the camera work changes. I feel like they're really going to lean super well to this kind of story and this kind of group that we have. If you have a chance to go back and watch the clip, you really should, because it's all pretty much filmed in one shot. It was incredible. The way they did that was fantastic. I couldn't have asked for a better debut. And sadly, that brings us to the end of the Monday Night Raw review for this week. What did you guys think of Raw this week? Go ahead and leave some thoughts down in the comments. I would love to know what you guys think. What did you think of the WYATT debut? Who do you think is qualifying for Money in the Bank? Go ahead and sound off. I'd love to know what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and show that you did by liking the video, as well as subscribing to the channel if you have not done so already. If you go ahead and click the bell next to the subscribe button, that is your notifications. You will not miss any of our uploads. You'll be notified straight away when we upload a new podcast or a new review for WWE. While you're there as well too, you should go ahead and check out the description. You can find all of the links to where you can find Outcasted on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as all of our personal social medias, so you can keep up to date with what we're doing when we're not posting on the channel. As always, you've got your regularly scheduled NXT review coming in from Reese, as well as the podcast on Thursday, where we're going to be talking all things Clash at the Castle, and I assume the crew is going to want to talk about WYATT, so we may include that as well too in the podcast, as well as the SmackDown review coming in later on in the week as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this, and I'll see you guys in the podcast this week. Bye guys.